want to say a big thanks to our sponsor, Panasonic Ventilation. What's real cool about Panasonic is they've got some of the best, most energy efficient, quietest bath fans out there. Different selections. Whisper Green Select is some of the best out there for your projects. They also have more affordable bath fans as well. And so they've got all different settings, LED night lights, humidistats, motion sensors, you name it. And those can be swapped right out in the unit without having to buy a whole new one. They've also got some really cool technology now where they can, called the Select Cycler, where they can connect directly with the furnace intake. And so if you're looking to get balanced ventilation at an affordable rate, you can have that connection go where it'll intake fresh air and exhaust it through the system, and you can get that balanced ventilation without the expense of an ERV. And then on top of that, they have the range hood pressure sensor there that can, of course, detect a loss of air from the range hood activating, and then activate these without you needing to get involved and your clients needing to get involved to make up for that lost fresh air. If you want to go out with a full-blown energy recovery ventilator, then the Intelli-Balance 100 is the way to go. This was an IDS 2017 Best of Award, ideal for usage in any climate. 2 revolutionary DC motors, smart flow technology, pickup flow speed selectors, 50 to 100 CFM with customizable airflow, built-in ASHRAE 62.2 timing functions for the 2010 code to help you meet the requirements. It can be a standalone, or it can be connected to existing ductwork or ducted on its own, and help to minimize your impact on your HERS index rating. It comes with a MERV8 filter included with an optional upgrade to 13, and is pre-approved again for all of the Energy Star requirements. So make sure to check out Panasonic for all your ventilation needs, and the Intelli-Balance 100 for ERVs. All right, well, welcome to Achieving Indoor Air Plus on New Construction and Existing Buildings. This course is approved for 1.5 hours in continuing ed, LEED AP accredited, Passive House, BPI among many of those, as well as approved for AIA Health, Welfare, and Safety, which may also make it applicable to your local state-based design or contractor license. I'll be your moderator today. My name is Brett Little, and I am the Executive Director here at the nonprofit, the Green Home Institute. This course, we're going to be going over the basics of the Indoor Air Plus program through the EPA, and also there is a new version, version 4 that has launched, so we'll be covering that, and then how that fits in with the LEED for Homes program, Passive House, and some of the other green building standards. All right, so our speaker today, Nick Hurst, he's an environmental protection specialist with the U.S. EPA and the program manager of EPA's Indoor Air Plus label for new homes. He's been involved in construction industry for over 15 years and is a self-employed remodeling contractor, project manager, green building consultant, and trainer. Along with Nick, we'll have Paul Raymer, who's been working with building science for more than 40 years. He has taught building science courses to diverse audiences, from home inspectors to weatherization specialists to architects and engineers. And a side note, he is an author of Residential Ventilation Handbook version 2 and a novel called Recalculating the Truth. So real excited to have Paul and Nick on the line with us. And Nick, go ahead and take it away.
Great, thanks, Brett. Really appreciate the introduction, and thanks for hosting. I think we probably have a variety of different attendees on the webinar today, and that's great. For some of you who have been doing Indoor Air Plus or doing Energy Star at least, some of this will be a review, but a lot of it will be new, especially to those who might just be designing or getting into Indoor Air Plus for the first time. So there's a brief look at the agenda for today. Just some background on Indoor Air Plus. This is a non-regulatory voluntary home label, so nobody's requiring anybody to do this, but it's an opportunity for home builders and trade contractors and renovators to take the next step in indoor air quality. So you're kind of moving beyond energy efficiency into a space where you're starting to provide health benefits to customers as well. And of course, there's health benefits that come with energy efficiency upgrades and improvements too. This program is independently third-party verified by home energy raters. And of course, we have a number of tools aside from the construction specifications that you see there, some technical support and some marketing resources that we'll get to at the very end. But Indoor airPLUS builds on that foundation that Energy Star certified homes has created for energy efficiency and to some degree building durability as well. And so they've done a great job of maintaining the envelope as a really sacred part of the building construction process, and also making the HVAC design and implementation process much more well refined. So Indoor airPLUS builds on top of some of those building science fundamentals and has some additional requirements beyond those. And then also touches on some things that aren't necessarily energy related, such as radon, pest management, and then low emission materials as well. So when you combine those two programs together, you get the Indoor airPLUS label that you see on the right. You get a home that has hopefully better durability, less long-term maintenance, and a really comprehensive package for indoor air protections. And what we try to communicate for builders is you're offering a safer, healthier home. So Energy Star and Indoor airPLUS work together from the standpoint of verification, again, by the home energy rater. Generally, the home energy rater can visit the site 2 times, once pre-drywall and once at the very end upon completion to do the verification. And then there's a reporting schedule, a quarterly reporting schedule that the home energy rating providers follow to report homes to EPA as they get completed. As far as where Indoor airPLUS fits in the kind of larger scheme of high-performance home building in that landscape, you know that a lot of builders are still building to minimum code, and the International Energy Conservation Code, the IECC 2009, is oftentimes used as a benchmark for that. Certainly some states have adopted more progressive energy codes, the 2012 or 2015. But Energy Star has typically used that as a benchmark to go above and beyond to meet those requirements. Indoor airPLUS is kind of another step in that scheme. And then there's 2 other programs, the DOE Zero Energy Ready Home Program and the Passive House Institute's FIAS program. Both of those programs also require Energy Star and Indoor airPLUS. So Indoor airPLUS is becoming a respected benchmark for IAQ, especially in these super tight, super efficient houses. And then, of course, some of the national, green building programs like the NGBS and LEED for Homes also either reference Indoor airPLUS or have some very similar requirements and credit opportunities. And Brett's going to talk a little bit more about those in a little bit. So when we look at what causes, poor indoor air quality and health risks, there's a number of things, really. Pollution sources, pesticides, there's particulates in the home. There could be radon in the home, depending on where you live. Pests can certainly create asthma triggers as well. And if we have inadequate ventilation, that can certainly exacerbate some of the potential asthma triggers and things that would be in the home. And certainly some of the symptoms that might appear from these things could happen immediately, but they might also happen over a long time. Radon would be one example where exposure over a long time could be certainly more detrimental. So when we look at it in terms of a strategy to create a safer and healthier home and hopefully reduce those health risks that come from poor indoor air quality, this is the kind of 3-tiered strategy that we typically refer to. And the first and arguably the most important is probably source control. And so you'll see in a minute that source control really is underscored in a lot of the Indoor airPLUS program requirements. We just want to reduce or eliminate the potential pollutants that could be coming in the home. And when we can't do that entirely, then the next 2 strategies, ventilation and filtration, are used as well. And so we'll see that more in just a minute. Brett mentioned that Indoor airPLUS Revision 4 was just released. That came out in February. And maintenance with these construction specifications the same way Energy Star does as well, with policy record updates in between revisions. And we're typically trying to harmonize these specifications with any reference standards that have changed or evolved. Sometimes we get feedback from builders and home energy raters in the field saying this would work better, or are there any exceptions to this particular requirement? And as building science continues to evolve, we're often able to create additional exceptions or sometimes new advisories as well. And those advisories hopefully will help hint at the direction that the program is moving in the future too. So how do we use the construction specs? The construction specifications, if you have them available, are split out into 7 primary sections. And again, getting back to our strategy for source control, if you look at these sections, you have moisture control, radon, pests, combustion pollutants and materials. All 5 of those are really strategies of source control. We want to keep those contaminants out of the home as best we can. And then we have HVAC systems as well, and that's kind of our opportunity to do ventilation and filtration. If you do have a central HVAC system, not all homes do, and then the 7th section is home commissioning. And that's a little bit of a combination of some of those other strategies, but one of the primary elements of that as well is homeowner education. So we're providing this new homeowner with an asset label for their home that says, hey, you have a home that's better than code and is hopefully setting you up to have a safer, healthier, more comfortable experience. But it still is up to the homeowner to maintain the home in the long run. And there's some responsibility, we believe, for the builder to help them in that too. So how do we use the construction specs? You'll see in each particular item of the specs that there are sometimes some relevant ENERGY STAR checklist items that are summarized. And so if they're checked off at the top, it's because it's an Indoor airPLUS requirement as well. But if you're doing ENERGY STAR already, you're meeting that requirement. And then in the middle, you see that darker box where you have some additional Indoor airPLUS requirements. In this case, you see that Indoor airPLUS requires a MERV 8 filter on the central HVAC system. That would be above the MERV 6 filter that's required for ENERGY STAR. And then again, down below, there's some additional advisories and notes and some of those exceptions that I had mentioned. So how do you complete the verification checklist? It's pretty straightforward. This is all of the items can be rater verified, and there are some items as well that can be builder verified. So we've tried to create opportunities to minimize the burden on the verification process. If there are ways that builders can be verifying things, they could be taking photographs as well during construction, which we highly recommend. But ultimately, the rater will sign the checklist at the end, and if the builder also does some builder verification, they would be signing the checklist as well. One of the updates that we've made recently with revision 4 pertains to the checklist in particular, and we've added some additional fields and some additional boxes in this checklist, and you can see them, a few of them highlighted there. And these are additional fields for the exceptions to some of the particular requirements. So this is a way to remind the builder that, hey, there might be an exception for you depending on your climate zone or your location. And it also reminds the verifier to confirm that exception if the NA box has been checked on the far right. So if it's not applicable, why is it not, or what is the exception? And so this is a way to enhance the programmatic quality assurance for the program in the long run as well. In this case, you see an example from the radon specification. The passive system is required in radon zone 1. We'll talk more about that soon. Generally, 4 inches of aggregate under the slab is required. But in dry climates, there is now an exception available for a perimeter pipe loop to be used around the perimeter of the home instead of full aggregate. So it's just one example of how these are incorporated. And then what about multifamily dwellings? Can this program be used for multifamily? The answer is yes. And any multifamily dwelling that can meet the ENERGY STAR Certified Homes program can also achieve the Indoor airPLUS label. So ENERGY STAR currently has a low-rise program and a multifamily high-rise program as well. Buildings that are 4 and 5 stories can possibly go either path. Buildings that are above that in number of stories have to use the multifamily high-rise program. Those are currently not eligible for Indoor airPLUS, but we are considering how they would be in the future in another version change. So watch for that in the coming years. Right now, the ENERGY STAR program is in the process of updating their multifamily program guidelines to really encompass the entire suite from low-rise to high-rise into one program. So watch for that in the next year as well. Then what about existing homes? Existing homes, in the case of gut rehabs, can earn the ENERGY STAR and Indoor airPLUS labels. Typically, it's an intensive process, and you're going to be going through a lot of the new construction facets as well. But if you're not doing a gut rehab, there are some other opportunities to build in health benefits for your homeowners in renovation work. And these include the Healthy Indoor Environment Protocols for Home Energy Upgrades, the blue document you see there, and then also a similar document for multifamily buildings. So you can check those out on our website as well if you're doing energy upgrade work or other renovations.